So when we are coding, right? Coding is something that's really fun to learn because of what? Because it is very easy that to make mistakes and then fix them, right? But then you can like fix your code, you can try again, and then you can try again, and the cost of error is really, really small.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Project Neo podcast, where I interview people from the tech world and get insights about tech in general and personal development. In this episode, I talked with Lucas Faria, a senior product engineer in Posthog. Listen as he talks about being a product-minded engineer, his love for his work, tips on creating content, and how he spreads his positive energy to the world. Wait for the end as he shares some tips about how to be a good engineer. Tune in to this amazing podcast. Well, hello, Lucas. I can call you Luke, right?
Yes, come and look, that's fine.
All right. So, to give context, I've never. This is my first time seeing Luke in the video. I've only interacted with him on LinkedIn, so I'm very excited. Lucas, could you like maybe give some introduction about what you do, where you're working, some interests, and yeah, feel free to like. This is your stage.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much for having me today, Faith. It's great to finally meet you. So I'm Lucas, but yeah, some friends call me Luke as well. I'm a software engineer, and I've been working as an engineer since 2016, which is when I started like my college, my bachelor's degree, which is in software engineering. And right now, I am working from Posthog. I actually started here like pretty early back in December, so almost hitting my 3 month mark, so it's still pretty new for me. And before Posthog, I was working at Brex.
Nice, nice. One thing that I know, you're not just a software engineer, you're a product engineer.
Yes. So that's something that Posthog like does, right? So here at Posthog, they don't really just hire like software engineers, they hire product engineers, and that's kind of like the big deal, like in a way, because most teams they don't have a PM unless they are already making 1 million of the $1 million ARR, like so $1 million like every year. So if they're not making like that kind of amount, we just like don't have like a PM, so the product engineers kind of like takes over that role. And so Posthog is weird because we are like a very big like startup. We are not a very big like startup, but each product of Posthog competes with like a 1 billion like 1 billion like company. So I work on the surveys thing. So for surveys, you can think like no code like forums that you can put like on your app, right? And there's like lots of tools that do that. There is like Caltricks, and then there's like full stack forums like Google Forms, Type Forums, right? And those are all like big companies like focusing on surveys. But then there is me with another like two people, just like trying to build like a product like against like companies that like are focused like on that, and they have like teams of hundreds of engineers. So I am a product engineer in a way that I'm not only like expected to like do code, to do like planning work, to do engineering work, but we also need to talk to customers, to do customer support, to figure out like what we want to build. There's like no one around to tell us, oh, what we're gonna let you focus like on this quarter. There's no one to tell us, and it's kind of like our own like responsibility to tell what we're going to be working on.
It kind of sounds like you own like one product. You own it and you're
Yes.
kind of like running that business, like the survey business. How are you able
Yeah.
to like manage the um thinking about the technicality, the technology, and then at the same time thinking about the product. And then you said that you talk to the customer. So is that more like customer support or more like user reviews? Like maybe you can talk more about that.
Okay, so I'll get on the customer part, and then we can talk about how to balance that between technical work. So there's two kinds of things, right? So there's both customer support, and there's also like product management in the way that figuring out like what we want to build. So for customer support, so post hoc we do have like a support team, right? But then if that thing gets if like a ticket gets escalated in a way that, oh, the support a person cannot fix it, and then it has to scale to like a more technical support. I know that on previous companies we used to have something called a dev support, which is someone that's not really like a engineer, but they are not also just a support. They are like a support that also has some technical background, and then your ticket would first scale to this dev support, which is kind of like level 2 of customer support. And then if they can't figure it out, it would go like to the engineering team who owns that feature. So that's kind of like how I see it works. That has how it worked at Brex. But on Posthog, we don't really have that, right? We only have one level for customer support, and then if they can't figure out, it goes directly to the engineering team. So each team on every 2 weeks, which is the cycle of our sprints, gets assigned a support hero. So a support hero is someone that is responsible for responding to every Zendesk ticket that gets escalated to engineering team. So I've been support hero so far just once. Actually twice. I've been support hero twice here on Posthog. So a support hero, it means that if something happens, I have to go and fix the code myself, and then I have to go and address the customers, close out the ticket, follow up with them like as needed, and that's kind of like how it works for customer support.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really good. It's really tricky, but it also teaches you a lot about just like communication and where your product can fall short on use cases that you were not thinking before. So it is actually a really like humbling experience to just like know how to solve a problem on the perspective of your customer, because it's not really like about the code, right? It's really about like creating software that allows them to do the thing that they want to do with the software, and then like move on like with their lives, because they have like more things to be worried about than just like, oh, your software is not working, please address that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really amazing. I mean, I'm pretty sure like our audience is gonna be like amazed with this kind of setup because this is not something that is very common in startups or in like bigger businesses. Um,
Yes.
how would you like how would you compare this setup to other things and like how does it differ like in mindset wise? Like did you have to like struggle to become like more of a product engineer when you came in here? Were there some training or how did you like prime yourself to be like that?
So that actually has been a term that I've heard like since a couple of weeks ago. You've probably like some of you may have heard about this newsletter. It's the top one on Substack, the Pragmatic Engineer.
Mhm.
It's written by Gergo Oras. He's like a former engineering manager from Uber. Now he's like a full-time creator and writer. So he did like this article a couple of years ago called it the product-minded software. The product-minded software engineer. It's kind of like the software engineer that it not only concerns yourself like with the technical goals of your organization, but it actually concerns yourself with like the product goals, with how you want to actually build the product, right? So something like, oh, instead of like figuring out like, oh, how are we gonna build this feature, they kind of like ask the why. So why do we have to build this feature? What type of problem like are we fixing? So it's kind of like mostly concerning yourselves with the why. And then once your software like is delivered, like the work doesn't really like stop there. You actually go beyond that because you now are monitoring like the metrics. So you can see, oh, are people using my features or are they not using my feature? Where are they dropping off like on the funnel? Imagine that you are selling like a product, right? You're building like a website to maybe like to fix like an e-commerce like flow. So your user, you can see that your user is adding things on his cart, on his cart. He's shipping like all of the details to actually get the product, but they are not completing the purchase, right? So something is happening because people are dropping like things like along the way. So a product engineer kind of like concerns yourself with that. So once he delivers like a feature, he's gonna check the metrics. He's gonna see where people are dropping off. Are they using it? If they are not using it, why they are not? Maybe that feature wasn't be even supposed to be built, and that's okay, right? Because the most important thing is that you have to learn on how to think on the behalf of the customers. So for a smaller like companies, for maybe your clients, they are smaller, maybe you can go and talk to them like directly, right? But imagine that you're a Google, right? Google, maybe you're doing like something on, let's say, I don't know, Google probably has like a Google store where you can go and buy Google Pixels, right? However, that's like that kind of product, they have like millions and millions of customers, so you cannot really go and interview them. So those kinds of companies, they do something a lot, which is called experiments, right? So whether they maybe, oh, let me put that add to cart button like all the way to the top for like 4 weeks. So are people buying now buying more things, or are people buying less things? So it's kind of like about running these experiments, right? And figuring out like, oh, what should we be doing next? So that's kind of like how it works for like bigger companies where you cannot really. interview like every customers. Of course, there are user interviews, which are we are going to be talking like about next. But I know that for a very big companies, they are probably like running like 1,000 like experiments at any like given point because like so many teams are trying out like so many different things to see if they can like optimize their software to just make it better. Yeah.
How many experiments do you make in a week?
Yeah, so in my case, yeah. So talking about like Posthog is not like a very like big company, and like I work on surveys specifically, which doesn't have like that much customers. So actually, I don't make an experience right now. But what I'm gonna do next week actually is that I drafted like a message to our top five like customers, and I myself am going to be emailing like them that, and then trying to get them like on a call so I can perform a customer interview, which is the next step that I talked about. So when you are a smaller company, you can figure out and be have like and build a closer relationship to your customer because like most of the time like I never worked on surveys before, right? So I don't know like what problems are they trying to fix. So instead of me trying to guess and maybe like ship a feature that maybe they wanna use, maybe they not wanna use, what I am going to do is that I'm gonna try to get them on a call. I am not like gonna try to like sell them my software to tell them like about the features. I'm gonna ask them, oh, what is your problem? Why is post hoc like surveys not doing to help you fix that problem, and what can we do to make you to maybe fix that problem like better like for you. So that's kind of like I feel like though that's kind of like that balance, right? So either you're running like experiments and you're relying a lot on quantitative data that say that, oh, 90% of people are not using that feature, why they're not using it. Or maybe you're if you don't have like that many customers, I think like the best bet is to probably get them like on a call and instead use qualitative like answer, or just like ask them things and then rely on them to telling you what should we be building like next.
Man.
And I feel like this is kind of no, sorry, but I feel like this is kind of like so one software that I admire a lot on that. 1 second.
Yeah. Take your time.
Yeah, so one software that I actually admire like a lot, I actually admire a lot is Linear. I'm not sure if you heard of
Oh
them.
man,
They
I
are
love
these issue
linear.
bucket management.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Linear is amazing, right? Like Linear is like incredible, and they kind of like grew. I feel like from my view, from the sheer quality of their product, right? Because it is like so amazing, so fast, and it's like so tailor made specifically for a product, like for a product engineering like teams, right? But they also launched like their software on what 2017, so not even that long ago, on one of the most like crowded like spaces, which is issue management, right? So you can think of like Jira, Trello, Asana, ClickHouse, no, Shortcut, which was had like a different like name. So many different like tools, right? And either decided to launch yet another like issue tracker like project management like tool, and they were able to win like a lot of customers, right? Like so many like big teams, like they not first they started like with like startups, right? But then they are now like serving like even like bigger customers like OpenAI, Brex, Ramp, like so many great logos like on their customers, right? And it's incredible for me the way that they do. And they have like this page which is really like amazing called the linear method, right? Which
Hmm.
kind of like tells like their process of like building like great software. And one of the things that they really talk about is about like having this feedback loop really short. So what I mean by that, so when we are coding, right? Coding is something that's really fun to learn because of what? Because it is very easy that to make mistakes and then fix them, right?
Hmm.
So okay, so you when you probably like start if you start with like a no OO language like Java, right? You probably hate like the exception, like no pointer exception so many times, right? But then you can like fix your code, you can try again, and then you can try again, and the cost of error is really small, right? So I feel like that's a principle that I'm trying to bring more to the actual software engineering, where instead of like doing like this very big feature of like instead of it's kind of like if you want to code like a very big system, but you can only hit compile just once like every month, right? Imagine that if you're learning to program and then you can only compile your code like every month. It's probably gonna take you so much longer than if you could like just do that like every minute, right? So I'm kind of like trying to bring like the same principle people to my work in a way that instead of me trying to spend like, I don't know, 2 months, 3 months, like 4 months, like building like a software, let me build a really, really like small part of that, maybe in a week, 2 weeks, go to my customers and tell them, oh, this is something that I built. I'd love to get like your thoughts on it. And I feel like this is the next step that comes like after doing this customers interview. So once you have like an idea on what you're going to build, like release it as soon as possible, right? If you can like just like push it to the code, use like feature flags so you can like tell them if your feature like is on or off, and then you enable it for like what 5, 10 customers that you have, and then you get feedback, and then this is kind of like the linear method way of building like software to get like to really close like to really shorten this feedback loop. This way you can make mistakes earlier, and that means that you can fix them like on a much like faster pace. Yeah.
I love it. I love everything that you said. I love every word. I mean, I totally believe about feedback loops. I am the kind of person who's like biased to action, right? I get something,
Yes.
I experiment, I do something, and then I don't care if I make a mistake because I know I can fix it right away. And
Yes, exactly.
I think I want to go to like the domain of entrepreneurship because like what everything that you're saying is touching on many points of entrepreneurship too. And I don't
Yeah.
know if you have dabbled over entrepreneurship, but like a lot of these concepts are very similar. Like what you're doing, what I'm hearing, your stories about Posthog is actually kind of like running a small business inside Posthog, and it's amazing hearing this from a engineering perspective.
Oh, it's so good. Like it's so different. Like it's kind of like what drove me like to Post Hog like in the first place because Post Hog feels like this place where you have like the brand, right? You have like so many products like inside inside like the same thing, but you're also like running your own startup. And back then when I was like interviewing like for a Posthog has lots of like former founders. I think like around like 40 to 50% are like ex CTOs, ex CEOs, ex startup like founders. So I asked my interviewer like what he wanted to join like Posthog, and then he was like building like his own like startup, but like he started like fail of course, but he didn't really want to go back to another like 9 to 5 job. So he joined Posthog because it kind of like feels that way that he can continuously build like his own startup and maybe not worry about the things that are harder to build a startup like fundraising, maybe marketing, right? Because we have like a very big like marketing team, and then you can like rely on them like because marketing like is important, like fundraising is important, but when you kind of like remove that part of the equation, it kind of like leaves you with like the most like the more like fun parts of the work. This is something that our James, our CEO, tells us like in the very like first week that, oh, do your best work to kind of like reach this point where you can make independent decisions and move on by yourself, because when you reach that, and we're gonna do like everything that we can to help you go there, we're gonna do coaching, you can like book time with us, you can let us know like how about questions that you have. But when you reach that point, it's kind of going to make like work feels like a lot more fun because you can just like do like more things, you can just like you have like more agency to actually go and try to build like great software and to solve like business problem like for teams, because that's kind of like that's why I got into software engineering like on the very like first place, because I wanted to fix like people's problems. And then with post hog specifically, I feel like I can really like focus on that and then on making that happen. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Um, I want to kind of switch to another um, topic. So what the people don't know or in this podcast is like you actually like speaking in events too. I saw in your resume that you sent me one time. You like speaking in events.
Yes.
Like, can you talk more on like how would other people maybe dabble into speaking in events? Like, you know, how do they prepare themselves? So like, I'm pretty sure like a lot of people like maybe on entry level or like junior devs has that ambition also like to speak. Like, could you talk more about that?
Yeah, so speaking in events is something that is very new to me. My first time speaking on it was on a very big like Latin America conference called the Developers Conference. Like there was like thousands of developers like on the events. And the reason that I got to speak there is that Brex, when I was like at Brex was trying to improve like its brand here on Brazil specifically to just like be able to hire like more people. And then one of the ways that we can do that is like having people that work at the company company, just go and speak on events and then teach like something that's interesting, right? So so we kind of like got together like on Brex, like a few people that wanted to submit like a proposal like for a talk, and then we just like submitted it. This was something that I always wanted to do. So back then when I was in college, I always loved it to be the one. So when we do like this group like assignments, right? So usually someone has to go and present that. So that's something that I always voluntarily like to do because like it was just like so fun to like kind of like showcase like something that you feel accomplish it off and then just tell people like about it. I feel like it's something that's very good to do like in general. It's like good skill, but for me, it's just like fun. I just like enjoy like talking to people. But then, yeah, we wanted to do like this event at Prax, right? And then we kind of like got like what? 5 to 10 engineers, like in a way, to kind of like draft proposals like within like the company, right? And then we all like got submitted. Unfortunately, mine was the only one that got accepted, which I had like no idea why, because like other people had like a lot of great like proposals as well. But mine was the only one that got accepted, and I wanted to talk specifically about some of the things that we are talking about here, which was about full stack, like front end or back end. Which one should you focus like on your career? So that was like subject that I wanted to talk about, and really, I don't think you have to be an expert to speak at an event, right? You just have something that you feel like that you learn it and then that you can share that like with other people. And then like as for practice, I feel like it really helps if you first like of course like practice everything. And I feel like at our workplaces is a really like great place for us to do that. So what I did is that I did like the same like proposal for my work for my team like at Brex as well. I did like the same proposal for my community that back then when I was like running like that for my newsletter community for my newsletter like community of people that just like comment to see my content. So I did that. So I did that. So it really helps if you can like do your presentation like with your eyes closed. So if you're going to like to present, right, if you got like accepted, just like practice like a lot. I don't feel like that's like a big secret like or anything. Just practice a lot and really talk about something that you feel that's exciting like to you. So on that front, right, I was someone that I always wanted to create content for developers, specifically for developers in Brazil, because I write content mainly in Portuguese. So my first job back on 2016 was on a content marketing company. I started there working like as a WordPress developer, so I just like built like blogs for our customers, right? So that was my job. However, to work on that company, you kind of like were required to get like a certification on content marketing, which is like in very like simple terms, it's about producing high quality content for people so they can find like your company like on your website on Google on SEO like on whatever sorts of things they can find you, they can like interact with you because you produce it like great content, and then they can eventually buy your content because like they feel you are like a source of like a source like a truth like worth like so sort of information, and then they feel like you're probably it's pretty good because like he's producing like this many content. So this is what content marketing is about. But then ever since I worked on that company back in 2016, I knew no, I wanted to do some sort of content creation. However, it took me 8 years until I finally found like the drive to actually do that. So if you want to produce content, like either that can be like speaking on conference, like writing a blog, like starting like a YouTube channel, starting like a podcast, right? If you want to do anything, the biggest advice that worked for me is that teach something that you didn't know 2 years ago, right? So if you think before, like 2 years ago, there's probably like lots of things that you have learned so far, right? So this advice was the only one that kind of like clicked it for me. So what did Lucas didn't know in like 2023 that I now know and then I can teach people? So then once you find that, like I know that I got like loads and loads of like ideas, right? So then I created like a linear like account. I have like what, like 40 like pending issues right now on just like things that I know that I learned it, and then I can teach you somewhere else. Because like really, the odds are like incredibly like high that someone is also like on a very similar spot that you were like 2 years ago. Because like most questions they have limits. It's not like everyone's like asking for this very like for these like amazing for these like weird like questions that nobody like knows their answers. Most questions are in common. So if you can like teach yourself from 2 years ago, I guarantee that there is going to be like other people that are going to be interested on that. So that's kind of like the biggest advice that I have on content creation, and that can be content for whatever medium you want to start about. So if you want to create content, right, just do that, and I feel like you'll be golden. Yeah.
That is so brilliant. Oh my God. Like the thinking about what you have learned from 2 years ago was like, that's, oh my God, that's amazing. I should apply that to
Yes.
my content.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I feel like it's really like the simplest like thing to do. Yeah.
Amazing. All right. So if you're gonna make a content tomorrow or this week, what is that content that you think that's based on what you said like 2 years ago that you didn't know?
So there is one that I've been like meaning like to write, right? Which is about how did I switch it like gaming like for programming, like in a way, right?
What do you mean?
So I feel like yeah, it's really it was I feel like back then when I was like in high when I was in college, so I was in college from 2016 to 2019, then I got my bachelor's degree, then I also did like a master that I ended up like dropping off on 2020. So for like around like 5 years from 2016 to 2020. And on all of those years, I was doing like gaming of some sorts, right? Specifically, I was doing competitive like games, right?
What
So
is
League of
this?
Legends, Counter Strike, Valorant, right? So competitive games that you have to put like so many hours to be good. And as a very competitive person, like I was probably like grinding like at least like 6 hours like a day of League of Legends because I wanted to be really good, right? So why did I do that, right? Of course, like my first dream, I knew that I wanted to be a pro player, right? Because that was like the dream job for me to be paid like to play in games. I should do like esports, right? But then I just like I wasn't good like enough. But I still really like it playing, right? But something that I did like. I think like this past like 3 or 4 years is that I kind of like replace it specifically competitive gaming, right? Because those can be a real like time sink because you were going to play like one match, right? Either you're going to be like very happy that you won, and usually a match like on those games they can last like from 30 minutes to like 1 hour, like
Mm-hmm.
around that, right? And then if you lose, maybe you're gonna be frustrated and you're gonna say, no, I'm gonna play like another one and then another one, then another one, right? So those can be a real, a very big like time sink. So for me, I was like really like competitive, and then they kind of like had me produce like a lot of dopamine, right? That made me feel good about myself. But then like 5 hours were going to pass, and then I was gonna like feel like empty again because I just like spent like 5 hours like doing like this game, and then I didn't even like get like so much out of it. So I always want I enjoy like programming like a lot. I feel like I I got like into programming like at first because I wanted to know how to play, how to make like video games, right? So I feel like ever since that, like I feel like programming can kind of like give you the same like vibe as gaming can do, especially competitive gaming, where if you challenge yourself to build like a really cool software, right, to just like scratch like your own niche, to build something that feels like fun like for you, and then if you can like apply that and then have like the same energy that you can get like from winning like in a game, in a PvP game from that, I feel like that can be like a real like life hack for your career as a developer, right? Because like we wanted to do, I feel like on our hobbies, right, we wanted to do like things that not only like make us feel good, of course that is important, right? But you also want to do like something that maybe challenge yourself like mentally, right? And that's something that is really like important for me, and I feel like gaming just like scratched that itch. However, gaming didn't really like advance my goals on my areas of life. That can be like earning more money, like being promoted at work. So I feel like when I kind of like try to make like the same like replacement where instead of having the drive be that from like winning a match to getting like more XP, like whatever, right? My drive is now coming, like my happiness is now coming from like hitting that compile button, publishing something like have something like online, get more people like using it. So I feel like that was something that kind of like made my career like just like go faster, right? For me to get promoted faster, for me to get like better jobs like faster, because for me it was not really like about, oh, how can I grind like programming for just like the sake of my career, but like how can I return the fun of programming to me. And I feel like throughout like my years at college, I started losing some of that, because college is really hard, right? So you're programming like all day, like for assignments, for everything. But then once you're graduated, like you can't code for your own like mind, and then nobody has to tell you what you're going to do. So I feel like I got that replacement, and that has been like just very good to me because there's like this advice from Naval Ravikant. He's very famous. He's the co-founder of Wellfound. He's like a very famous like investor on very famous like angel investor. So he tells like one of the advice that that they have like on this book called The Almanac of Naval Ravikant is that find something that feels fun for you, but then like feels like work for other people, because that's kind of like your unfair like advantage, right? So people really say, so I know that here in Brazil people say, oh, maybe that's common on other parts of the world as well. So people say, "Oh, if you love something, but then you start working on it, you're not gonna like love anything like else, right?" So I don't really believe on this negative connotation. I feel like that you can't really, if you work really hard, I feel like you can find something that not only like feels fun for you, but it's also something that can bring you money, can give you profit, so you can have like a nice like quality life. So yeah, that's kind of like that's kind of like this subject that I'm gonna be like writing about next is how to make the switch from gaming, which is like a fun activity. I still game a lot, but not really competitive like words. I mostly game now on my Nintendo Switch, so I play like half an hour, like 1 hour, like before bed, like usually, which is really fun because then I can just like play like whenever, right? Which is good, which is what I like. And then Nintendo games, they are really like the best, like for me. But then like no more competitive games because those are such a time sink then they don't really like advance my goals, and then I can get the same dopamine rush from just like programming. Yeah.
I totally, totally agree again on that point where actually I also see programming as kind of like leveling up, like a big
Yes.
game, and it's a big game like you said, you can like gain profits, like level up in the career ladder. It's like it's a big, amazing game, and I really, really love it.
Yeah.
Um,
Something
Amazing.
that I really want to learn like more this year is about game theory, right? Is like how
Mm.
to make like everything like feels like a game. That's something that Naval is also like a big fan. It's just like game theory, right? So gamifying your life is a concept that I've been like applying like a lot, right? On just like how to make like dull activities like feel more exciting, because then you can like just like reap the rewards on that. This is kind of like how they hit you with like those like from like this past like 20 years we got like this very like big mobile games that just got people like addicted to it, like so Candy Crush, like Fruit Ninja, I don't know, Pokemon Go probably like as well, right? They just kind of like have you like on this theory where if you just do like this one more action that you're gonna get a reward, and then you're gonna get the reward, and then you want to go and want more. So I feel like if you can apply this game theory and like into your life to pursue like your own goals, it can be like a really like I really like big traffic. That's something that I really want to learn like more about like this year, is just like game theory in general.
I'm pretty sure you're doing something already. I'm curious, like, do you reward yourself when, for example, you're like stuck in a bug, okay? And then you solve it after like an hour or 2 hours. Do you reward yourself, and what kind of reward is it?
So I feel like for me, either I can treat to like the actually solving it as just like the reward, right? So I don't feel like I do like a much good job like of like rewarding like myself. Back then I used it to reward me with like junk food like in general. So chocolate, sweets, I have like a very big like sweet tooth, right? That's kind of becoming like a problem to me because I'm just like I'm putting like more weight. I wanted to get like more fit. So I'm trying to stop that because I have a very big problem of just like stress eating, like in general, right? So that's something that I want to do better. So I'm trying to like push away that. So yeah, I feel like I need to do better on like rewarding like myself. But usually for me, I just kind of like treat you like as the reward of being doing that. And something that I do actually, sometimes what I do is that maybe I'm gonna do something for like a potential like reward, because I know that, oh, someone is going to praise me, maybe I'm gonna get like a promotion like at work. But I don't think like those are ideal as well, because those are kind of like outside your control. You can't
Mm-hmm.
really control if someone's gonna like enjoy your work. You can't really control if you're going to be promoted. So it's kind of like finding about like finding like a better reward for me. So something that really like drives me is that when I made me talking like about work, if I ship a feature and then I know that feature is gonna help like a customer, right? So I feel like that's kind of like the reward for me, just getting, yeah. It's kind of like how it works, by the way.
Amazing,
But
amazing
I
mindset.
don't do a really good job. Yeah, yeah,
Amazing mindset right there. That's just thinking that actually helping a customer is a reward. It's like that's good. That's really good. All
yeah.
right. Let's now maybe get a bit more personal. So, is there like I can already there's already obvious things behind you, but like, is there particular non-tech hobbies that you enjoy and maybe have influenced your work?
Yes, there is actually. I feel like I'm ever since like I was a child, I really when I really like it to read like in general, right? So now like the people these days they don't read like a lot of books, right? But I feel like reading books is just like something fun, and then I always like lost myself on books like in general, especially like fantasy or like science fiction books, like mostly fantasy with a couple of science fiction, over over like these years. So software like for me feels like so I really like magic systems like in general. So I'm reading like right now the Brandon Sanderson like the Stormlight Archive like books. He just like finished like the set is like this now like a 5 book set. Each book is around 1,300 pages, so they're like these very like big books. uh but like these books particularly, they have like a very deep like magic system, and I just like love that, like just love like intricate like magic systems, and I feel like they're just like so much fun, and I really enjoy fantasy in general. So for me, software like programming feels like the most like similar system to magic, like in a way that we can do like on the real world.
Mm,
Because think about it, it's so weird because we are typing these very weird characters like on programming, on computers, right? And then they can make like so many great things like happen. Like, so software is everywhere, right? So there is software like on our fridge, on our microwave, like on pretty much like every electronic device that you see, they have like some software attached. And this is kind of like how comes down to programming, because like some people are very good at typing weird stuff on a computer and then just making like stuff happen. So magic, so software for me feels like the closest system that resembles like magic on the real world. There's actually a series like there's like a light novel that even got adapted into like an animation called The Irregular at the Magic High School, which is very weird because like I really it's not really that's like an amazing show like pleasured by critics, but it is actually one of my favorite shows. So it is in a way that, oh, the third world war has started, right? Countries like are fighting, like there's a very big risk of like a nuclear war that's gonna like end everything. But then like a couple of people, they kind of like figure out how to make magic, right? But then they like the author, he found out like these very weird magic systems where magic, to make magic happen, it kind of like requires like programming, right? So it's in a way that, oh, each wizard, like each people that is a mage, they have like this special area like on their brain called the magic calculation area, and then they have this device called CADs, right? It's kind of like a device that allows you to perform like processes, a process on things like around like the world to like these ID to through the idea, which is kind of like the magic like environment. But then to make it happen, like magic engineers, they have to program like a sequence, right? That's gonna like magically compile using your magic calculation error in your brain, and then you're going to like apply a process on something like outside the world. So it's a very like weird show that has like a very good like magic system, and because like this magic was found, they were able to prevent like a nuclear war. And then it's just like all about like the all about like the routine of like these two people at like a magic school, at a magic high school. And it gets into themes like, oh, because magic was found during like before like a war like purposes. Now all mages are kind of like are kind of like expected to go into the army, right, to actually be like soldiers, but then not all of them want to do it. Some people just wanted to be like have like normal lives, but then there's like lots of prejudice against magicians, right, because magicians are now like this like more elevated like social class like in the world, right, because they, if you are a magician, that means that you have a special powers, you have a special privilege, right? So it has lots of like politics, lots of like things that I like, kind of like a Game of Thrones like esque kind of like way, right? Which I really like. So that's something that's very different. But yeah, so for me, I feel like I really like magic like in general because I feel like software it's like the closest thing
Hmm.
that can feel like magic like in our world. So on my personal like website, you see the description that Lucas, I'm really passionate about like making magical like user like experience, right, where you
Hmm.
can just like make software feels like very nice, a very nice to that feels like magic. That's kind of like what linear like feels to me, because linear has like no loading screens, everything like super fast, everything like is so crispy, like all of the animations are like handcrafted, so that's kind of like the one incentive that I got like from reading like fantasy, from reading like magic sisters like into the real world and into my career. Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. Very cool. Thanks for that. That's very interesting insight.
Yeah.
Um, Hypothetical question now. If you could have dinner with any tech leader or like, tech personality, who would that be and why?
So that's probably gonna be like linear CTO, right? Yeah, definitely like linear CTO because like they started like their product on a very like weird way because they started like building like a sync engine from the day zero, right? They started running like Kubernetes like from the day zero, and even though they did that, like those decisions, they seem to be like oh, they seem that did like pay off like in the end, right? Because Linear is not this very big company, very famously known like about its quality, right? So the questions that I would ask is that like, oh, what mistakes does he thinks like he has made like in the past couple of years, and what would he done like differently, right? Because yeah, as you can tell, I'm a very big Linear like fanboy, but those are the questions. But I'm sure that they made like mistakes across like these years, right? Because that's just like bound like to happen. If you're not making mistakes, you're probably like not trying like hard enough, and not trying not hard enough, but you're not trying like much, because by making mistakes, it's really like the quickest way that you are going to grow, right? So I just really wanted to know, like from an outside perspective, Linear feel like this amazing like magic software that's kind of like doing like everything better. So I'm be very curious to know like, oh, so what went wrong across like this couple of years, and what did you learn from it, and then what would you do differently?
Well, there's LinkedIn. Maybe it's just a matter of like sending him a message.
No, I tried like I have like linear CEO on my on LinkedIn. He accepted me after like I posted like a comment on one of their releases, but the CTO has not accepted me yet. But maybe I'll ask the CEO. Let's see. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm really big into just like asking people. I feel like most people, like especially like in tech, because tech is such like this open industry where or just like to talk about it, like open source is kind of like the king, so I feel like tech in general is really like people can be like really like welcoming, right? So one someone that I admire a lot is Charity Majors. She's the CTO of Honeycomb, with the Charity Majors, the CTO of Honeycomb, which is a very big like company on the observability space. She wrote like so many like great books, right? And then when I was doing my presentation was about like product versus platform, like which I was about like front end or back end, and the conclusion is kind of tells I kind of like tell that, oh, don't qualify yourself as a front end or as a back end engineer, because as I told you, like your customers, they don't really care like what you're gonna do. They just care that, oh, if your software is working or not. So I said that a better definition is probably product versus platform engineer. So product is the one that works with the end type of customers, and then platform engineers, they kind of like build like the components that you make you need to make great software, right? So I feel like those are more common in like big tech companies, especially the ones that are using like microservices, because those require like a lot of like tools to actually build it, right? So those platforms engineers, they work on the infrastructure so that product engineers can worry less about the technical details, because those are still important. I'm not taking that away. Those are really, really like important. You're not really escaping that. But then they can ask like the bigger question, which is like for the customer, which is like what should we be building like next. But then one thing that I wanted to propose like on that talk was about, what's like a good way to grow once you maybe you hit like senior level on product or on platform engineer. So the idea that I want to propose is kind of like the product and platform pendulum, where if you spend like maybe 3 4 5 years on a product team, maybe switch gears and go try and go be like on a platform team, right? But then I never really did on a platform team. Like I haven't really switched to a platform team so far. So while I knew, like in theory, that it made sense, I wanted to get like people that actually did that switch to just get like more ideas on it. So I added charity majors on LinkedIn, and then I know that she's very big on platform engineering, like in general. And I just asked her, does it make sense for you? Does this idea of the product versus platform make sense for you? And she wrote like this amazing like answer for me, which I did quote on my presentation, right? Which was really, really good. And then she kind of like agreed on it that if you wanna be like a stellar, like a world class engineer, it does make sense for you to like switch gears like every like couple of years,
Mm.
either from like product engineering, either to site reliability engineering, which is kind of like the big area about platform engineering in a way, or to engineering like management, right? Because like while product engineer can kind of teach you how to build software, she told me that platform engineering is gonna teach you like the really hard technical aspect about getting softwares right, and then the engineering management side of things is gonna teach you how to run like people like systems in a way that it makes like your thing like better. Because one of the concepts that she's been talking like a lot is that maybe if you want to build like a great software, maybe you're gonna think, let me hire like a team of like world class engineers, maybe people that work at on fame companies, on very like big like famous companies, right? But she doesn't really like agree with that, because
Mm.
like great software is not really built by great people, it's great about great teams, right? So if you just like have like a good team where people can make mistakes, or people can try, where people can try talk to customers, or people can have like a very small like feedback loop. Even like normal people, you don't have to be like a stellar like programmer. You don't have to be like I don't know, solve every lead code problem that there is like out there. You just have to be on an environment that allows you to thrive, and then that foster like collaboration. So that's some notion that I really like agree with. That it's not really like about having like people that only went on like to famous like colleges or worked on famous like companies. It's just like about having the team environment that allows like even like normal people with like average like technical skills to just like do great work. Because in the end, I don't really think it's like about the technical skills. It's just like it is like mostly about just having like being able to ask the right questions and then do like the work that makes sense for that. So yeah, I know that we deviated like a lot, but yeah, but this is kind of like to make the point out. If you admire like someone, don't be afraid of just like adding them and then asking like them the question, because that's something that I feel like I've been doing like a good job past couple of years, and that's something that can not only like get you great insights that you're not gonna get from anyone else, but can also like lead you through doors that you didn't even think that were there for you. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. I feel like I could like go on and then talk more and have more conversations with you. Like you have so much wisdom and so much like experience that I can learn from. Unfortunately, we are at the final question.
Okay.
I know you
Okay.
have some things you have to do as well, like, and take care of your stuffed toys. Just kidding, just
Yes.
kidding.
Yeah. No, 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 no worries. No worries. Yeah. But let's do it. Let's wrap it up then.
Yeah, I have a final question. It's
Yes.
actually not something that I didn't prepare for you, but this is something that I asked from my previous podcast that I think is very interesting.
Okay.
Um, what is something that you think that you want other people to remember you by?
Um. something that I want people to remember me by. I feel like one thing that I kind of like I've been hearing like all across my career, like something about that I really say is that people kind of like make the people tell me that I make other people feel comfortable talking about me. And maybe that's because like I smile like a lot. Like you say, like I probably like smile like 15 times as we been talking. So I wanted to people to remember me as being someone that they just like enjoy like being like with. Not really like working with, maybe not to really like playing with, just like enjoy being like around me. That's something that I really like. And then they and then hopefully that they also like it my work as a software engineer, which is harder, right? But I just like to be like around people, and then I wanted to people when they leave like a conversation from me that they either feel like energized, they feel happy, they just really say like a lot of like dopamine like in general. So yeah, that's I feel like that's something that I want to remember. Just like about being someone that's great to have around. So one feedback that I got that was really happy when I was then was like when from like a couple of teammates on practice that my designer like told me that every teams like need a Lucas, right? Because like
Oh,
Lucas just like brings everyone like energy like up, and I feel like this is something that's very like underrated like on your career, right? Just like having like just having some being like someone that kind of like uplifts like the energy of everyone like around you that just like feels happy. And it's not that you need to feel happy like all the time, because like all of us are going to have like bad days eventually. But I actually got this advice from a principal engineer a couple of weeks ago, that if you don't feel happy, if you don't feel good about yourself, it's probably better to distance yourself like from people that you distance yourself from people, so you don't also leave you the chance of like hurting like somebody's like feelings. So I feel like that's something that's really good for you to do. So if you don't feel happy, of course, like work on that, like do whatever you can to just like be like more happy. That's maybe not a very good advice. Be more happy. You need to find like your way to be happy. And if you be happy, if you just smile, if you just like make people comfortable like around you, I feel like that's something that's really good, and that's something that I want to be remembered of. To just like someone that people like being like around me, and then just like enjoy like spending time with me. Back when I was on high school, I used to be bullied a lot on high school and on middle school like as well. Which made me feel like very timid, like in a way. But when I started like on college, I just like said, oh, nobody knows me like anymore, so I'm gonna be just like try and be more open, like be just like talk to more people. And I feel like it kind of like transformed like my view, not only like on my career, but also like on the world. I'm just like trying to make the world like feels like nicer. So yeah, I know that all of us we have like our charms, we have like our bad things, but then just like try to be around people that make you feel good, and then eventually I feel like everything is
I
going to
love that.
work out. Yeah.
Well, it's been really, really great talking to you. I feel energized. I feel really captivated by your words, by your stories. It was really, really amazing. And I really think you have a high emotional intelligence because you can self-regulate yourself and you know how to make yourself happy and make other people happy. And that's amazing. It was
Yes.
very, very nice. I hope I can catch up again with you and just extract more of those little tidbits in your brain. It was amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much, Faith. It was pretty fun, and yeah, I'm just like always down, like to go and have like a nice conversation. I feel like those are one of the best things like of our industry in general. So I'm just gonna say this last word is that if you are going to consider like a career like in software engineering, don't think of it as this technical field where you have to be to know like all of the algorithms, all of the programming languages, all of the math. It is really like a much more social field that you can think of, because like if you are good on just like talking to people, on just like making people feel good, come and be an engineer, because I guarantee you that you're gonna have success. So thank you so
Amazing.
much. Yeah, it was really fun. And yeah, really. Yeah, just enjoyed it like so much. I always wanted to do like a podcast, so this was like my first time. So yeah, it was so much fun. So I really appreciate the opportunity as well.
Amazing, amazing. All right. Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.